Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we focus on one of the Fremen who is destined to become one of Paul Muad'Dib's most trusted Fedaykin lieutenants, and he was a key figure in penetrating the conspiracy against the Atreides Emperor. That Fedaykin's name is Otheym, who's going to be the focus of today's video. He was born as Siege Tabba during an enormous sandstorm, a portent perhaps of the day Otheym would help his Lisan al-Gaib defeat the Padishah Emperor, and of the Holocaust that would take Otheym's life. His mother, an efficient organiser of children's classes, saw to her son's education. However, it was Otheym's father, Uliat, a highly experienced fighter, who had the greatest influence on his son. Even though he died when Otheym was just an infant, Otheym was too young to remember the day Fedaykin was brought to the siege by the three youths he had saved from the Harkonnens. From his mother, Otheym heard the story of how the debate on Cain's fate had raged for hours until the judgment for death prevailed, and for his father, armed with a consecrated knife, approached Cain's, who was enthusiastically speaking to a group about the road to paradise he foresaw for Arrakis, and of how Cain's spoke just two words to Uliat: "Remove yourself," as he swept past his would-be assassin. What happened then will always remain inexplicable. Without speaking a word, Uliat moved aside and fell on his own knife. From that moment, Cain's was an a holy man, and in time Uliat was elevated to the Sadus, the blessed company of heavenly judges. As the son of a legend, Otheym came to believe inexplicitly in the sacred mission of the man who had sanctified his father and vowed to devote his life to forwarding Cain's vision. There are several key moments in Otheym's life when he's young. He was faithful amongst the group Stilgar sent into the desert to find Paul and Jessica. And he was captured at that moment by the power of Paul, and it came to him an unshakable faith that Paul was the fated Lisan al-Gaib. And so he became a lieutenant of Paul, a member of the dreaded Fedaykin death commandos. When Paul became a sand rider, Otheym rode with him, and at the end of that journey he helped to overwhelm the smugglers who had penetrated the Cave of Birds, and where he observed the emotional reunion of Paul and Gurney Halleck. Although startled by the sudden attack of the 10 Sardaukar who had infiltrated the smugglers, Otheym acquitted himself well in the ensuing melee, accounting for 2 of the 7 Imperial troops slain by the Fremen. However, Otheym's best moment came when he was chosen with his friend Korba to serve on Muad'Dib's war council to plan the battle strategy against the Padishah Emperor. Otheym also proved indispensable in the manoeuvres at the shield wall prior to the decisive battle at Arrakeen that resulted in the defeat of the Emperor's 5 legions of Sardaukar and the Harkonnen mercenaries. Otheym not only functioned as a scout, but also contrived the escape of the 2 Sardaukar captured with the smugglers and set up watchers to note their progress. By Paul's direct orders, he was in charge of moving the Czech patrols out of the blast area before Paul triggered the explosive action that breached the shield wall. Stilgar chronicles that Otheym fought ferociously as the firemen swept across the basin under cover of the storm, and then rode with the troops mounted on worms in the final massed attack on the Emperor's headquarters. In the years that followed, Otheym took part in the jihad loosed upon the universe, the unrestrained killings, the massive slaughters, the obliteration of worlds, the incalculable suffering brought about. He said, "A lessening of me as a man was the outcome for him." He had seen wonders, planets where water fell from the heavens, had immersed himself in the sea on Enfail, and had gone to the end of the universe to fight on far distant Gangishri. But he brought home wounds as well as wonders. His body bore a network of scars and the first telltale traces of the splitting disease, perhaps what the ancients call leprosy. He caught this on Tarahal. With him, when he returned, was a surprise for his wife, Juri. Bajaz, a dwarf he bought on Oka, a toy discarded by the Tleilaxu, supposedly. After his discharge, Otheym lived in obscurity with Juri and Lishna, his daughter by Mesha, Juri's sister who had died before his return. In time, most of their siege hangings and desert tapestries disappeared to pay Otheym's medical bills, sold to rich pilgrims who paid enormous sums for authentic Fremen artifacts. Although embittered, Otheym never ceased being a worshipper of Muad'Dib and was thus ready to serve his emperor once again when Stilgar approached him with suspicions of a plot against Paul. Accordingly, Otheym moved to a cul-de-sac that housed the suspects to give him the opportunity to mark the traitors and record their names. Sometime after settling in, Otheym confided to Stilgar his outrage in discovering that Lishna had fallen in love with the blind son of their Fremen neighbour Farrokh. It was unthinkable that she would flaunt Fremen tradition by consorting with a sightless man. We know from Stilgar's chronicle that Otheym was mercifully ignorant of his daughter's true plight, that Farrokh had given her Samutta in hope of winning a woman of the people, despite his son's blindness, an empty victory since the narcotic destroyed her personality. Nor did Otheym ever discover that Saitael, the face dancer, killed Lishna so that he might assume her appearance and lure Paul to a trap at Otheym's house. Unaware of the trap, Otheym rose above his bitterness and his physical incapacities to perform what he thought was one more service for the man he revered. He informed Paul of the treachery and presented him with a human distrans, the dwarf Bajaz, who had recorded the names of all the traitors. This favour was literally Otheym's last act, because within moments of Paul's leaving, Otheym and his wife were destroyed in the holocaust of a stone burner, meant mainly for Paul. Perhaps Otheym was not sorry to depart the world he had told Paul he no longer liked. Just as his father Ulliot, Fedaykin's would-be executioner, gave his life for the creator of the dream of water for Dune, Otheym gave his for his Mahdi, the one who made that dream a reality.